1,000 children remain separated from their parents. When Senator Blumenthal pressed Trump's DHS nominee about reuniting these families, what happened next exposed the moral bankruptcy of the Family Values Party. This wasn't just evasion, it was a deliberate choice to abandon America's most vulnerable victims of government policy.
Common sense, bullets in your bag. I had a guy with bullets in the back of his pickup truck coming back from Mexico. We arrested him and took his truck. And only because the Institute of Justice fought for him for 3 years did he get his truck back. I mean, that's crazy, the things we do. Let's have some common sense, and hopefully someone overseeing it will allow that. Senator Blumenthal, you're going to finish this up.
Thank you, Chairman Paul. I'm the last of your questioners, so that means I get unlimited amounts of time.
Okay.
Not really. Not even close. I want to sort of continue the emphasis on bipartisanship, and most especially on immigration reform. What this nation needs is comprehensive immigration reform. We know about the need for more H-1B visas and other kinds of extensions of the visa program that enable the United States to have more workers that are desperately needed in certain areas of our country. We know that there has to be better border security generally. We know we need to provide some kind of path to earn citizenship for a lot of the undocumented people in this country. And we know it's possible because we did it in 2013. Mm-hmm. The United States Senate, as you will recall, passed a comprehensive immigration reform measure. Overwhelmingly, it was bipartisan. I was proud to be a part of it going through the Judiciary Committee, but obviously it will involve Homeland Security. And I hope that we can continue, as Senator Langford was a part of the effort in the last session, to expand on those efforts and move forward on a bipartisan basis toward bipartisan, comprehensive immigration reform. I want to talk to you a little bit about domestic terrorism, which we discussed during my previous round, and I know you've discussed it afterward, including not just migrant crime and radicalization by ISIS, which are real and present problems. I also want to ask you about domestic terrorism events unrelated to groups outside our borders. We've seen a rise in anti-Semitism in this country. It has spiked beyond any prediction. Yeah. And I want to know of your concern with anti-Semitist, racist events, Charlottesville, Buffalo, Pittsburgh. There's a shorthand for these violent terrorist acts against people in the United States.
Yes, Senator, I'm very concerned about what we've seen in this country as far as anti-Semitic violence that has happened. In fact, last year during our legislative session, I brought legislation to more clearly define it so that we could fight it in our home state. And I'm hopeful I can work with you to continue to do what we can to make sure that we are addressing this rising threat and not facilitating it in this country.
And I just want to make sure that when you say we're protecting Americans against terrorism, that we're protecting all Americans, including people in mosques, in churches, in synagogues, people regardless of their worship, their race, their background. We need to protect all Americans from anti-Semitism, racism, Islamophobia. I hope you'll commit to that effort.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Senator, and I look forward to working with you to do that.
In my closing minute and a half, I just want to call your attention to an effort that I've led to help reunite children with their parents, children who were separated as a result of the so-called family separation policy in the last administration. I have introduced a measure called Keep Families Together, not only to limit separation of families at or near ports of entry, but also the Families Belong Together Act for several Congresses to help bring the children, the kids who were victims of this policy and who still are not back with their parents. I hope that you will support that kind of effort.
Senator, the Trump administration never had a family separation policy. They had a zero tolerance policy, which said that our laws would be followed. What I'm alarmed by is the over 300,000 children that went missing during the Biden administration. And when we talk about children and what they're potentially facing as far as victimization in this country and the trafficking that's going on, this administration's lack of desire to find out where those children are or what they may be going through is alarming to me. So I want to stop that.
Because my time is expiring, I'm just going to interrupt again with apologies to say, let's put aside.
Well, I can't put aside 340,000 children.
Labels. Let's put aside what happened in the past. There are still 1,000 children who are separated and waiting to be reunited. I'd like your commitment that you're going to continue the effort to reunite them with their parents.
Senator, keeping families together is critically important to me and to this country. I'm concerned about Laken Riley's family, that they no longer have her. I'm concerned about the fact that we have people in this country that don't know where their children are, or people in other countries who sent their children here and they've been lost by this administration. So yes, my focus will be to keep families together. We will uphold our law and we'll make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our children safe from the trafficking and the drug epidemic that's hit this country.
I'm going to end on an optimistic note and say I take that as a yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
What you just witnessed wasn't a policy disagreement. It was a masterclass in deflection when confronted with human suffering caused by government action. Senator Blumenthal's questioning of Kristi Noem revealed something deeper than partisan politics: how institutions handle accountability when children's lives hang in the balance. The exchange began with Blumenthal's straightforward request for Noem's commitment to reuniting the 1,000 children still separated from their parents as a result of the previous administration's zero-tolerance policy. This wasn't about relitigating past decisions, it was about present reality. Real families remain broken by government action, and the incoming administration must decide whether healing that damage matters. Noem's response followed a predictable pattern: deny the premise, deflect to a different tragedy, then pivot campaign talking points. She claimed there was never a family separation policy, only a zero-tolerance policy. This semantic distinction matters because it reveals how officials distance themselves from consequences. When you call it zero tolerance, it sounds like law enforcement. When you call it family separation, you confront the human cost. The deflection to the 300,000 missing children under the Biden administration serves a specific purpose. It changes the subject from institutional accountability to political scorekeeping, rather than address the concrete problem of reuniting specific, documented separated families. Noem pivoted to a broader immigration crisis. This technique transforms a solvable problem, requiring her commitment, into an unsolvable crisis, requiring her rhetoric. Then came the most telling moment. When pressed for a simple yes on reunification efforts, Noem invoked Laken Riley's family. This wasn't accidental. By mentioning a victim of immigrant crime, she reframed family separation as necessary protection rather than institutional failure. The message becomes, these policies may separate some families, but they prevent other tragedies. This rhetorical strategy works by making accountability seem naive. Anyone demanding reunification appears to ignore public safety. Anyone questioning zero tolerance appears to dismiss victim families. It's a framework that makes institutional reform politically costly while making institutional harm politically invisible. But there's a deeper problem here than political messaging. When government agencies separate families, the process of reunification requires sustained institutional commitment. It demands tracking systems, coordination between agencies, legal resources, and diplomatic engagement with origin countries. It's not something that happens automatically. It requires leadership prioritizing repair over politics. Noem's response suggests that priority doesn't exist. Her focus on keeping families together going forward, while politically safe, sidesteps the ongoing damage from past actions. The families waiting for reunification become casualties of political transition, their suffering subordinated to newer priorities and fresher talking points. The broader pattern here extends beyond immigration policy. When institutions cause harm through surveillance, overreach, wrongful prosecutions, or policy failures, the question becomes whether accountability includes repair. Acknowledging mistakes isn't enough if the systems that cause damage continue operating unchanged, and victims remain uncompensated or unhealed. Blumenthal's persistence in seeking a commitment reveals why oversight matters. Without sustained pressure, institutional failures become historical footnotes rather than ongoing obligations. The children separated from their parents don't disappear because an administration changes. They remain separated until someone with authority decides their reunification matters more than political convenience. What makes this exchange significant isn't the policy details, it's what it reveals about institutional character. When pressed to prioritize human repair over political positioning, Noem chose deflection. When given the opportunity to demonstrate that children's welfare transcends party politics, she chose partisan talking points. These choices shape how institutions respond to their own failures. The question for Americans watching this isn't whether they support stricter immigration enforcement or more generous asylum policies. It's whether they believe government agencies should fix the damage they cause to innocent people. Because if institutions can separate families without obligation to reunite them, they can cause other forms of harm without obligation to repair them. Democracy doesn't just require good policies, it requires institutional humility when policies cause unintended suffering. What we saw in this exchange was institutional pride disguised as political necessity, leaving real families trapped in bureaucratic purgatory while officials debate semantics and deflect responsibility.